Welcome back to On the Entrepreneur's Journey, the show where we explore how founders build companies that scale, evolve, and create durable value. Today's guest is Govind Balu, founder and CEO of QX Impact, an AI product company operating at the application layer where AI meets real business problems. At a time when most leaders feel overwhelmed by AI headlines, infrastructure spending, and competing use cases, Govind is focused on something very different, building deployable products that solve specific customer problems and generate measurable ROI. In this conversation, we'll explore how he's scaling QX Impact in a fast-moving market, how he decides which AI use cases are commercially viable versus hype, and what business leaders should be realistically thinking about when it comes to deploying AI today. So, welcome to the show, Govind. Glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thanks for having me.
So, in your case, we kind of have a twofer because you're scaling a business, but you're also talking about a very hot topic, AI, to an audience that you serve, which is middle market companies. So I want to hear about both, and so we're going to talk about both. But let's start out with somebody who is just saying, I want AI. I can see it's going to make my operation more efficient. It's going to help me scale, but I don't know where to start. So how do you go in? Because I know you take a consultative approach and help them define where and what problems they can solve in their businesses.
Wonderful question. The age we are living in, AI is more hype than anything else. When I meet with the business leaders, the first and foremost question I ask, how much they really understand AI, okay? And who told them about AI and what kind of reality check they're checking on the market, how the AI is really impacting the business. A lot of times the answer I get, and I have very little understanding on, and I'm trying to understand the AI to improve my business. The next question I ask them, help me understand what problems you are really facing. What is the impact you have currently having those problems? So one of our clients we recently met, they're in the food manufacturing company. The person I talking to the supply chain officers. So their number one issue is they have 4 different manufacturing plants. They make the sugar, and they can't properly plan for their production. They can't plan for labor. They can't plan for raw materials. They can't plan for the shipping. They have a number of issues. They're unable to understand that. So that is the best problem. One can expect the use case for AI. Then I asked them, let's say we implement AI. Do you know how to measure the value of AI? So I come in, build a platform, then the AI starts solving it. And how do you measure the impact to your business? Then they're smart enough, the person I talk to is smart enough to say, I can improve my labor productivity. I can keep my raw material cost. I'm not going to keep up really high in my warehouse. And I can also shut down minimize the logistics cost, how soon, how fast it needs to reach out to the customers. And I said, wonderful. Okay. That's what we wanted to hear from you. And let me help you with how the AI is going to help you to solve the problem. And the first thing we went ahead and helped them You're talking about really supply chain management problem. And
Hmm.
the first thing you truly need to understand the customer demand. So if you don't understand your customer, what they're expecting, how soon they're expecting to release, you have no visibility into what you're going to make, how you want to do production of the plan for our production. So we build what we call the machine learning model, which we call the one of the AI type of models. It takes a large amount of the data, historical data. It forecasts the how much customer demand they can expect in the future. That becomes the AI model number one. Then the next one we look at, okay, so now we understand the customer demand. Do you understand your warehouse capacity? How much inventory you have, how much inventory that is expected to come in orders you placed. So now we build another model we call a very general model to understand the inventory levels. And the third model we build on a predicting the production schedules. Now you have the demand, you have your current inventory levels, then you build the production schedules. That production schedule should have the 90 plus accuracy. Here is the how much labor you need, how much raw materials you need. Then that is going to send it to your production plant. Now the production plant is going to start using that the very specific instructions start making on it. Then they were able to minimize the customer disruptions. They're able to keep the optimal inventory levels. Then they're able to improve the labor productivity. So that in that case, we expect the business leaders, when we talk to, they have a little bit more understanding on what business problems they're trying to solve. Once we solve it, how do we measure the value AI is going to do? Then that becomes a best candidate for AI. But
Right, right,
whereas, some cases the business leaders don't know. In that case, you are not ready for AI. In that case, we'll say you have to find the right problems to solve for AI. Hope
right.
hope that helps.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And I'm learning something about your model because I'm realizing that it's really customized to the problems that you're facing. And, I think the holy grail would be to productize, every use case that you have and, basically take it and offer it across many businesses. So you reap the efficiencies of that initial, work that you did with AI to create, the first product and you amortize it over many and the profitability really goes to almost 100%. So how do you scale that? Govind, because it's very customized, but is there learning that you can take from these engagements and productize your offering?
That's the scaling is one of the key a value of AI. So historically, I think the technology has been a static business results driven. So if I wanted to go back and build a system, you feed in all the business rules in your applications, then you kind of develop the code, and then you deploy that system in the production.
Right,
So that's called the static business functions. And if you wanted to go back, make changes, you need to go back and pull your code and make it. So I'm sure that you have done that. Even I have done it my prior world. What the AI does, AI works off of a the data. So you don't literally need to feed in business the rules. It can literally learn from your historical data. So as you continue to collect new data, you continue to change the way you are operating your business model. As you collect your data, machine learning models or AI models smart enough to recognize the patterns. Okay, this was the how your business model 10 months ago. Now your model changed. Your business model changed. Your operating model changed. So that's very, very important to understand. I think the one thing I wanted to at least caveat this scalability of the AI models, the best the powered by the your data assets. Your
Mm,
the data asset is kind of messed up. You cannot scale your business the AI models. Your output is going to be garbage. That's what
right.
we always tell the people. So as long as you can maintain and enrich your data every single day, your AI models is going to scale and adopt the new business processes.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're
So,
going to locking down the scalability aspect of it. You can't garbage in and garbage out.
yeah. So that's on the user side, but I'm talking about for your business model. And now when you go in and you created a commercially viable product for one client, how do you leverage that and spread it over many so that you can reap the rewards of the intellectual the work you've done so far?
Wonderful question. I think that's the one of the huge differentiating factors what we do as a company. So we predominantly focusing on a manufacturing, the distribution, CPG in the mid-market models.
Okay.
The way we develop that scalable SaaS models, we build the foundational layer. With the foundational layer is nothing but one, you build a data lake or a data platform. So regardless how big and how small your business is, your data platform talks about your process. What is your sales process looks like? What is your the production process looks like? What is your procurement process looks like? We build what we call data lake platform or a data lake house. On top of that, and we build the what we call the baseline AI models. Okay, so you have the two layers. One is the data foundational layer that won't change business to business. You can add more and less data,
Right,
but
right.
I have a customer number is customer number, sales order number, right? Billing is the billing. Those won't change. Then you have a foundational model, what we call the foundational model. For example, I wanted to go back and predict demand. I have the foundational model. Then when we talk to the client to client, let's say within the manufacturing industry, I'm talking to one client with $100 million, other client is $1 billion companies. The complexity, the data elements they're collecting it might be slightly different. In that case, what we use in this case, I already have the foundational model. I have to enhance some cases and deploy we call the slightly customizable model for the business. Some cases the foundational model is good enough. Okay, I'm just going to use the time series model for predicting my demand forecast. You're fine
Right.
with that. So what we have done as a company, we build the foundational data lake. Then we build the foundational AI models. Now we go to the company to company. We look at what problem they have. Is the foundational model is good enough, then we will deploy that. If the foundational model is not good enough, then that's where we start doing the customization.
Customization.
One thing I wanted to tell you, Peter, the in the AI space, your AI models driven by the a complexity of the data what you have, how much data you have, and then how complex, how many operational systems you have. So there is not a one model is going to fit for all the
Right.
businesses. That's why the foundational model is going to give you the baseline. Okay, you have developed 80% of the foundational model. Now we need to do that 20% of the model. We call that is the model training. Model training and fitting into their business model. So that is always the case. Unless you have your own business, you have your own develop models, that's going to be fine. But we are a SaaS company. That
Yeah.
foundational model is very, very key for us to scale our
Right.
business.
Right. So, just to finish the thought, so with each incremental company, and it sounds like in order to make this work, you've niched down to consumer products companies in the middle market that, have supply chain warehouse. And so you've made a niche so that the foundational model can fit very well in that niche so that your incremental expense of going from company to company in that space relatively low. You talked about how you customize. I'm sure you have to customize in every case, but it's not like you're reinventing the wheel.
Absolutely. Let me give you an
It's
example.
yeah.
Sorry to cut you up. If you're looking at LLM models, there are foundational models. If you're looking at Gemini, GERT,
GPT, right? Yeah,
ChatGPT, there are foundational models each company develop. Let's say a Bank of America needs to adopt, Citibank needs to adopt, or a CVS need to adopt. They take the foundational models, they try to customize on top of that. So that's the beauty of the foundational models. Foundational models is there. At least it's going to get you better place where you can start. Then you need to do incremental work. If you're looking at the prompting, whether you heard the prompt engineering, so the prompt engineering and the customizing the foundational model is going to go hand on hand. That's kind of your customizing the foundational models and training the foundational model. That has to happen uh, any industry you go to. So that's
right.
why right now the LLM models is the best example. We have the best foundational model, LLM models we have, but I cannot use it. You cannot use it. We have to customize those LLM models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we go to the model. So you've created it. You've done your work. Implemented AI into a company, a CPG company in the middle market, and it's working and it's learning as it goes along. So how do you price this? I mean, this is kind of a situation where are you one and done and leaving the company, and they're
No.
they're operating and going forward, or do you have a recurring revenue model where you have a customer service sort of back end that's servicing that client and answering the questions? Are you helping run the system? How does the model work, and how do you make money? Is it a recurring revenue model? I'm trying to think how what you're building here.
So ours is a subscription-based product.
Okay,
So we don't do the custom solutions.
right,
Our subscription product is we have a foundational data
right,
platform that provides your traditional BI reporting. Also, the data warehouse comes with it.
right.
Then on top of that, we build the AI models. So not every client they needing the AI models. So let's say you are the client, you come in, I need a supply chain models. Okay, we deploy it and we take our foundational models, we customize it as part of your subscription model, and we charge the monthly fee. So
Okay.
monthly fee comes with a free maintenance
Mm-hmm.
and free support, and they don't need to do anything. So let's say we go back, continue to work on it. They come back and say, I wanted the model to be upgraded to do X, Y, Z. In that case, we charge an extra fee on the additional customization. So
Okay.
as long as they're using our foundational models and during the onboarding, we understand their problem. So we call the onboarding fee, it's one-time fee. And then
Right.
after that, there is a monthly subscription cost.
Okay.
That's one
So,
model we have. Yeah,
okay. And then, as I said, upgrades, it's like a new implementation. Okay. So it's a mixture of the sort of transactional onboarding and then the recurring revenue that goes along
correct,
with it.
correct, correct.
So so what, how do you, I mean, it sounds like you have a base of intellectual capital that you're spreading over your niche, which is very good. And so in terms of scaling it, Govind, as you get smarter and smarter and have more clients, it almost means that you almost scale. You need less people to scale. Tell me how you scale it. I'm curious as to going from 1 to 10 clients or 10 to 100 clients. Is it a linear need for people, or is there a lot of operating leverage in your model?
There is a huge operating lever we have in our model. That's why the one thing between a service-based company and a product-based company, and you can't play in a multiple domains. That's challenging.
Hmm.
So we are in a one domain, in a manufacturing domain and the distribution domain. Well, we have been in the industry last 7 years. First thing what we have done, focusing on the domain expertise. So deeply understanding the market, deeply understanding the business, deeply understanding workflows. We have to have that knowledge, otherwise it becomes a very challenging. And the second thing what we have trained and scaled our teams on the data knowledge perspective. So there are many different operational systems, particularly in the manufacturing space. They use the ERP system is one of the key operational systems.
Yeah.
And there are hundreds of ERP systems. You break sometimes your head, then each does differently, but underlying business process is the same. So that we have to gain the knowledge on the data side. And the third component, what we have done, we build what we call the data lake house. If you build a data lake house for a manufacturing industry, distribution industry, that's 80 to 90% can be leveraged other manufacturing company as long as they're using the same ERP system. Okay.
Hmm. So
So
your AI really goes and has to, obviously it's getting a lot of the data from the ERP systems
correct, correct,
so you have to be, so really the learning curve is to know a lot of the ERP systems that your customers are using,
that's
and
exactly
once you get that interface down, then you're able to leverage it.
correct,
Very
correct.
interesting. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears here.
Yep.
So I'm sitting in a client seat, and first of all, you've described very nicely your ideal client: manufacturing, supply-based CPG, middle market. Those use cases seem to work well. You've got a niche, and because you have a niche, you're able to have a really good domain expertise, and that allows you to have that leverage. So I love all that. So what would be, you know take it further. What kind of, in my audience, who would be the ideal client that you'd say, this is the perfect use case for me? Explain to me who that client would be.
So if the client, any client they're interested in bringing the AI to their company, a mid-market companies,
Right.
um, they like to have one AI platform that can go across every facet of the business from the finance to operations. So they need to centralize their data and have a digital platform, one platform across the company.
Right.
Then they're interested in building AI on top of that to solve their financial problems, solve the supply chain problems, solve their production problems, solve their sales problems. We are the one platform that can literally provide end-to-end AI capabilities for the company. In other words, the companies, they're very much interested in moving forward with AI. They don't want to spend a tons of money building their own infrastructure, building their own people, and they don't know how to run, how to create a value. Our platform does the magic for them.
Yeah.
Magic within 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. So that's where we mastered ourselves at a fraction of the cost they could invest as a company. We
Right.
can come in, we plug in, we can show you the value. You tell us exactly what problems you have. We have a foundational model that's up and running in weeks.
Yeah.
So
And it's
that's where we demonstrate our value.
and that's sitting right on top of their existing ERP system and really making it that much better.
Huge, yeah, ERP systems, MES systems, CRM systems, HR systems.
Yeah.
We sit on top of all their operational systems. Peter and you and me talked about it. So the big companies, right, multi-billion dollars companies, they have money, they have resources, they have knowledge to bring their own teams. They can even afford to lose the money on the AI, right? But look at $100 million company, $200 million company. Every dollar mattered, right? We
Yeah.
ask them to spin up that risk on us, and we take that risk for them. We give the tangible value for them in weeks. That's our demonstrated value. That's what we have been doing it for almost for 7 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
And let me ask you, given your experience and for the business owners who would be consuming AI, where do you find the efficiencies and the ROIs? Where is the ROI generated? Is it mostly in expense reduction because you're carrying less inventory, you're able to buy less inventory, your carrying costs are less, you're able to deploy labor more efficiently because your production schedules are more geared to the customer. All those things I can see the expense story. Is there a revenue story with this too in terms of the ROI? Where do you find the ROI in the company?
There are three ROI calculations. One, the getting the visibility into their business insights, leveraging their operational data. The companies are spending a shitload of the money in IT. They can't extract the data. They can't get the visibility of their business. How well my financial metrics doing? How well my supply chain metrics? They're spending close to 10x on that alone. So we have proven ourselves. We will give to you the visibility of your business in weeks with a 10x less than what you're spending. That's one.
Yeah.
And the second one is the taking the cost out. Okay, so your margin of the, let's say, 20% margin right now. You like to improve your margin. That's where we bring the AI models and we analyze the what are the margin drivers or cost drivers is we
Hmm.
help identify your inventory cost, your supplier's cost, your supply chain cost. So where
Yeah.
are your cost? How do you optimize those costs? We recommend the cost. Our ROI is the increasing your margins at least by 3% is the second one. Third one is the revenue. So a lot of the small companies, they bring a lot of the leads, but they don't know how to prioritize those leads prioritization. We score the leads. We precisely tell which leads they should focus on reaching out. Some cases, we also help them to cross-selling within their own companies. That's a net new revenue generation. So if you look at the three ROIs, bringing the visibility, taking the cost out today, what let's say you're
Right.
spending 100K right now, we can do you for a 10x lower than what you're doing it today, and increasing your margins and increasing the revenues. Very simple three ROIs. We don't complicate the things, we make it very simple for the business
Yeah.
owners.
Well, I'm just thinking, I mean, most business owners that I coach or I'm exposed to, they just don't know where to start. And I think, to the extent, as you said, you can say, I can bring you better data that you have, but you haven't been able to access it or cull it or get it in a form where you can actually make sense of it and use it. So we're going to extract it more cheaply and give you better management information systems and visibility on your business. That's great. I can reduce your expenses. And we talked
Yep.
about the areas across the board that is. And then on the revenue side,
Yep.
identify opportunities. So that at least provides a framework for somebody to say, okay, now I think I know what I can use it for, because there's so much hype out there.
So
Nobody
much hype.
knows nobody knows what, they know AI and they've played with it, but it's like, where do I do it? And then the other question is, who is going to get disintermediated in this economy? I'm assuming that software companies that are providing these solutions today are getting disintermediated by AI coming in and solving those problems, probably for a fraction of the cost. I'm guessing that this brings overall cost of data and software costs or IT costs down by using AI in the applications like you're using it.
So that's a great question. I think it could be a complicated question for
Yeah.
the some of the
So
people.
keeping it simple.
May so AI needs to enable uh, the people in the business and also the systems in the business. Okay, so your
Yeah.
outcome needs to be uh, achieved through the two lens with the people you have and the systems you have. AI by itself cannot produce the outcome. It has to outcome AI outcome. You need to take it, either give it to the people. They need to make decisions, either integrate outcomes to the systems to make decisions. Right. So the operational systems are not going anywhere. AI will increase the automation of the operational systems, but they need to know how to integrate AI into their operational
Yeah.
systems. So that's with a lot of these operational systems, they're trying to build a built-in AI, which is going to take many, many years. Plus, they can't build a AI models on a one system. You have to bring a centralized data, then you have to centralize those models. It's very, 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 complex technical question. That one, I think a lot of the people, misunderstand. AI is going to generate value by itself. It is not. AI is going to enable the humans to create the value. In this case, let's say I'm in the company, I'm doing a marketing. It's going to help me. What should I do? Right? Or
Hmm.
it's going to increase the CRM. Let's say I'm going to automate the CRM outreach. Then AI is going to increase the outreach automation. So AI is going to enable human intelligence and the system intelligence. Very, very interesting to understand those two concepts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes people, they don't know how to integrate AI into their day-to-day life. That can be very challenging, especially mid-sized companies. It's very hard for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I mean, it almost needs people almost need to consult with you or somebody like you just to figure out where to start. And you've explained very nicely how to start that. But it's it sounds like understanding where the ROI is, and then it is the first place I would start if I'm a business owner. And knowing that, then I could take in and say, okay, how can you help me achieve those ROI
Correct. Yeah.
returns? So let me ask you one other question, and this is back to your business. The growth rate and the demand, how do you delineate between what is something that's going to be commercially viable for you and what's going to be a waste of time? Because I'm sure there are people that come with they're not ready, they don't have the system set up, their people are totally technologically not advanced enough. How do you decide which customers to take? Because I'm sure you have your pick. I mean, there's millions of people that are trying to figure this out. Is it one where you're just choosing your customers, or how does that work in today's environment?
So we always start with the do you have a digital platform that's relevant for your business? Okay, so let's say some clients we talk to, they are very small businesses. They're $5 to $10 million. They're happy to run an Excel. They don't need any systems. They don't want to do the any need for the digital. So where we look at, so the you need to have an operational system. CRP is one of them. I think we look at, okay, if you don't have an ERP, you may not be candidates for us because you're not
Okay.
collecting the data. So that's the first check we do. And
Okay.
the second check we ask, what is your roadmap to scale your business? And do you have any digital platform today? So they collect the data from the SharePoints and Excel, ERP, CRM. The data is being siloed, fragmented. They can't literally use that data. So they collect the data, but they're not really using it. The second thing we look at, do you have a centralized data platform? If the answer is no, then we come in, here is the one. And the third one, important thing we need to look at, do you have visibility into your KPIs, your metrics? Do you know whether you are going to make your revenue next month? If you don't, you need to have a full visibility of the system. So that's what we ask. So you need to have a bare minimum ERP. And the second one, if your data is not centralized, okay, that's a challenge. And the
Yeah.
third one is if you don't have visibility into your business, that's the third one. Fourth one, we don't recommend going back and investing into AI models without a specific use case because each model can cost a lot of money and it may not give any value unless you have a real problem. So we take four-step process,
Hmm.
okay? Centralizing the data, providing the visibility, understanding your business model. Then fourth one is the implementing the AI solutions. AI solution is the last step in our journey because we don't want to charge or take the client to the wrong direction unless there is a right problems to do it. For example, a lot of the people they're confused with the Gen AI versus the machine learning. Okay, Gen AI is the you know workload knowledge based system. I'm as a marketer, as a the salesperson, you can go back and generate a lot of content, a lot of videos, a lot of things you can do,
Right.
right?
Right.
Even read.ai right now, it's recording it. That's a Gen AI use case. You can do
Yeah.
those, okay? But that doesn't cost that much. But when
Yeah.
you are going back and developing the AI deep learning models, then it's going to cost you a lot of money. We have to maintain and manage and deploy it. It's going to even cost more money. Then you're wasting a lot of money without any value. So that's our approach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's kind of enterprise level versus individual users in a company. We're talking about really helping an enterprise create
Correct.
incremental value in their systems and their processes and things like that.
AI always needs to be enterprise solutions, Peter. I wanted to tell the audience that if they're looking for, okay, I have one problem, I'm going to solve it, you're not going to get any value. You're wasting your time and you're burning the company
Yeah.
money. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Great, great. So last question, and this is kind of the middle market company. I think you've laid out some really nice sort of checklist items for companies to use it on an enterprise level, which is really where you're dealing, and not the individual sort of employee level, which I think is we all mess around with that. And you've really talked about the ROI for that, for the impact of what we're doing. So I guess so do you think that, I mean, we're looking at early 2026, if I'm a CEO or somebody looking at this, when do I have to dive into this? I mean, is this, if I have the four prerequisites that you're talking about, am I going to be left behind if I don't deploy it and don't get that profitability kick that you're going to give by using AI? What's the window when I really sort of kind of have to dive into the pool?
The honest answer is a couple of years back, right? So I'm not advocating they need to start using AI. There is a foundational elements they need to build in to maximize the value of AI.
Right.
As I talked
Okay.
to you, building their digital assets, which is the
Yeah.
data lake platform,
Yeah.
building your visibility into your business. And the third one is the optimizing your workflows. And then fourth one is building a very use case based problem. So you're already late if you have not started, right? It should not, it will not cost that much money to get started. And again, I wanted to make sure that it kind using a Gen AI, a individual,
Yeah.
that's not leveraging AI. I wanted to make sure that I think
Yeah.
the people get confused in the market right now. I'm gonna use the Gen AI, Open AI or Gemini. That's not using AI. Okay,
Yeah.
please, the audience, please focus on you have to build AI platform that's gonna scale your enterprise business. That I would start with, you should have started already building your foundational, then you keep moving on. Let's say I wanted to move into the house next year, right? And if you have not even started the foundation now, then you can't
Yeah.
you can't build a house, right?
Yeah.
So you need to have start designing, start foundational, right now. So the honest answer is, so they should start ASAP if they have not, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna back to your business, is the demand out there such that, is this and in running your business because you're dealing with a moving, I mean, you've defined what you really need to do and all that, but also, it's such an evolving product in a sense. How do you keep up with the technological advances that seem to be coming out, every week almost in just advances and even the basic large language platforms? How do you stay on top of all this and to be relevant to your customers?
That's a very challenging problem. I'm not gonna lie it. I think
Yeah,
we have talent challenges, right? And we have training challenges,
yeah,
and we have a challenges with the learning the business, as the business people are constantly looking for opportunity increase or improve their workflows, right? And
yeah,
on top of that, ERP companies are start making the changes. If you look at all the moving parts you have to deal with as a product company, it's a lot, right?
yeah,
It's a lot. I think, what I do, prioritize what is the best for the company QX as well as the best for the clients. Okay.
yeah,
Knowing that I can't solve every single problem, I need to focus on where I can solve and the what value I can drive, right? That's why I think the one of the areas we don't focus on, going back and doing the predictive maintenance of equipment. I don't do that. I don't want to do it, right?
yeah,
So that's
right,
not the area I wanted to focus on, right? So,
yeah,
there are partners, they do that. We tell them go back and work with that. So we focus on more on a commercial side of the business. Okay, you have the warehouse problems, supply chain problems, procurement
yeah, yeah,
problem, finance problems, right?
yeah, yeah,
And the labor problems. That's where we come in. So going back to your point, it's the constant challenge as a at least the initial. We are 7 years in the market. Still, every day there is a talent
yeah,
issues. But every time
yeah,
there is a talent comes in, LLM model changes. We need to keep up. The technology changes,
yeah,
business changes, people change. There are a lot of challenges. That's where
yeah,
my head sometimes it
mhm,
spins.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
in terms of that, yeah, and then is the growth, Govind, looking forward, and this will be my last question, where do you see your company in 3 years? What's the vision of that going forward? Is it is it going to be doubling every year? Is it, it sounds like you've niched out, you've created a nice niche that you're covering and have a good technologically lead, and you've got making good impact and inroads. Is this something that's growing so fast that your company could double or triple in the next 3 years? What's your vision for the next 3 years?
That's our hope, because we already funded a product. We did not go to VC funding. We
Mm-hmm.
funded. There is no financial risk right now. So,
Yeah.
and the product is very cost effective, and the speed to market onboarding is really good. So our ROI is really, really high. And we see a lot of traction in the market. People want this platform. They wanted to get visibility. They wanted to build on
Right.
AI models on top. We hope to double, if not a triple, by 2027.
Okay.
So that's the goal. Um, but you know you never know. I'm just taking one day at a time. I think stay focused on doing the right things for the customers and the employees. I always believe in long-term success than the short-term. And I never wanted to get the short-term success. I wanted to have a very long-term, very stable, sustainable model. That's what it makes me very strong. I wanted to build a foundation of the company really, really strong. I don't want to build something it only can scale for one or 2 years, then it's going to disappear. That's not who we are, right? So
Yeah.
that's why the growth, it did not get as much as I'm hoping to last couple of years, but I think since we build everything now, the platform really can scale. By 2027, I'm looking for a double the value right now as we speak,
Okay.
you and me. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Good.
yeah,
Good.
yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
think I want to thank you for your time and at least helping me understand how to approach this problem, because you're a technologist, but you're dealing with the customer, and presumably the customers in the audience that are just wrestling with this, and you really are approaching it. So you're helping my customers, but you also have a scalable business model, which I'd love to learn more about. But we've covered all we can today. And I want to thank you, and I want to thank the audience for being with us. And until next time on the Entrepreneur's Journey, we'll see you later.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Govind.